In today's episode, the Ford Galaxy. Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, where we look at car brochures from around the world, like this one. We've been doing a series recently of this 1998 Ford all-range brochure. It's quite a big brochure in that there's lots of models of Ford in it, including commercials rather unusually. But there isn't much on each particular model, so these particularly are just like snippets really of what we actually do. Today we're up to the Ford Galaxy, so let's have a look at that brochure now. So this is the brochure we're looking at, like I say, 1998, and it says edition 1. Quite simply saying the Ford range, and like I said before, even having commercial vehicles on this one, but we're quite a long way into this brochure now. We're now up to the Ford Galaxy, which we can see here. It's sort of MPV, minivan, people carrier, whatever you want to call these, different names around the world of course. A model that's kind of like died out a little bit, particularly Europe and even in North America. They're not as popular as they once were because of course SUVs are the thing these days. But if you have missed any of the range so far, I will do a link at the end. Incidentally, if you do like this sort of content, it's a very niche subject, but please do consider subscribing. Let's move to the Ford Galaxy. And here it is. I always thought it wasn't a bad attempt by Ford for what is a class of car that's never going to be cool or something desirable, but very, very practical. Way more practical than an SUV, of course. Unusual that they kind of like died out. Maybe people don't have as many kids in the Western world anymore, I'm not sure. But we'll start with the text and we'll come back to the images in a moment. So it begins by telling us, with all the driving dynamics you expect of a great car and the added luxury of the extra space you want without taking up more room on the road, Galaxy delivers first-class travel with classless ease. And then it tells us what the standard features include, because there are a few models actually in the Galaxy range at this time. So we get, of course, 7 seats capability, air conditioning, easy to remove second and third row seats, second and third row backs fold into tables. We also get our standard electrically operated front windows, a driver's airbag, central double locking and engine immobiliser, 2 power points in the luggage compartment, stereo radio cassette, security key coded, and a choice of 2 turbo diesel engines, 3 petrol engines, and automatic or manual transmission on selected models. So these models, or the model range, starts with the Aspen. Of course at this time putting an L obviously didn't cut it anymore. We had to give the base model a name, so Aspen was it. Moving up to a GLX, then an SI, which is a little bit unusual, a sportier version of a Galaxy, strange idea, and then a Gear, and then all the luxury of the Gear X. So the model it's actually promoting is that unusual SI model. So the red one we saw at the beginning, and we'll come back to in a moment, is an SI with optional features at extra cost, but doesn't tell us what they are. And the interior is also an SI, again, with optional features we don't know what they are. But anyway, let's move to the interior shot first. So we take a peek on the interior, and you can see they've really tried to make it as car-like to look at as possible, following the same theme as many of the Fords at this time, with this all the curviness. But overall, yeah, I quite like the overall look of that. We do get a tiny image as well. So firstly, don't adjust your sets. It is a blurry image even on the naked eye. It's a weird little, very tiny black and white image they put on there, I guess to show us a comparison with what looks like a Mondeo saloon next to the side of it. But the main image is where it's at. So the unusual SI version of the Galaxy colour coordinated everything. Looks like we've got some sort of fog or spot lamps, just a tiny little one on there on this higher spec model, and it looks like we've got alloy wheels, although remember it did say in the small print it has got some optional features, but I would imagine the alloy wheels would have been a standard fit for what was the sporty Galaxy. Colour coordinated door mirrors and huge doors on there. Unusually the door handles are not colour coordinated and the rubbing strip isn't either. And then moving to the tail there, we can just about make out the SI badge and what looks like quite heavily tinted glass, certainly more tinting as it goes further back by the looks of it. So yes, there is your Ford Galaxy. Of course, these were the first generation models that ran from 95 to 2006. Also shared a platform, or really not shared a platform, really more badge engineering. There was also one badge to Volkswagen Chiron and one badge to Seat Alhambra as well. And of course we got a second generation, and also I believe we got a third generation of those as well. And then in January 2022 Ford announced plans to discontinue the Galaxy after 27 years of production. Kind of almost like the end of Ford and these people carriers, although they had a bit of a Ford Courier type van based thing, I believe still running around today. But I think the first generation was kind of the most striking design, particularly this front end looked quite striking actually when it came out. But certainly share your memories of these cars. Of course we talked about the model range here, but of course they had more models as well. There was an LX earlier on as well, and a Z-Tech model just by Z-Tech early on as well. And then at some point there was an Ultima, not shown here, so something even higher than the Gear X for super luxury, but I don't think that lasted very long. But overall, yeah, an interesting model overall. I don't really like mentioning Top Gear, but Top Gear magazine did vote it the least satisfying car in the UK. But I think it sold pretty well despite all that nonsense. It was what it was, a vehicle to get people around, and I think it was the best selling MPV at some point. Of course outselling its sister, the Volkswagen Chiron, which was pretty much identical vehicle. Anyway, I'm waffling a bit, let's wrap this one up. So there we go. Certainly share your views of the Ford Galaxy. Did you have one? Was you a passenger in the back? Let me know how you got on with these unusual machines. They were a tool for a job, and I think they did okay at that. Next car up, well, unusual lineup how they've set this out, but Ford in their ultimate wisdom have decided we're going to look at the Ford Puma this time next week. Incidentally, Friday is always when we look at a Ford. We're not a Ford channel, we just do a Ford Friday, so there's lots of other makes and models of car if Fords aren't for you. So like I said, please do consider subscribing. All completely free, you'll never be charged to be a subscriber. We'll end by saying please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. You'll never be charged to be a subscriber. You can also now become a member, very small fee. Have a look at that if you do want to support the channel further. But thank you so much for all the regulars. Please keep those comments coming in. We'll put on the side there a couple of boxes. One will be for the episodes you've missed in this particular series. Click on that if you want to see some more Fords from 1998. And I'll put a box on which will be a random box, but there is over 600 episodes now, so I'm sure there is something for you if you want to look at our homepage. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do take care. We'll see you again very soon. All the best and goodbye.